Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Mostly Peaceful Latinas. I'm your host, Bella.
And I'm Linda.
Before we get started, guys, first of all, sorry for being a little late. We had to get ourselves together. Big show.
Big show.
Big show. Linda's got so much to expose. If anybody's been keeping up with Linda's shenanigans.
I'm still fighting right now.
Are you still fighting right now?
Yeah. I've been fighting for 24 hours.
You've been fighting for longer than that, my dear.
Probably
it's been like
a whole week.
Consistent, it's been consistent from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Guys, please don't forget to share and like. Most importantly, like this live if you are in here now and help us get on the algorithm. We're going to be, of course, discussing DeSantis. We've got some Mulvaney stuff. We've got some Epstein stuff. But before we get started, we do want to take a moment to remind you that Mostly Peaceful Latinas is self-funded, no Illuminati, no lizard people. We do want to thank our sponsors over at Century H2O. For those of you that are not aware, we have partnered up with an organization called Century H2O. They sell an under the sink water filtration system that takes very little space, very affordably priced, at a price point of less than $300. Helps gets rid of all of the nasty stuff that the lizard people put in our stuff, including the fluoride and the carcinogens, and fills it up with all sorts of good stuff. But please show our sponsors at centuryh2o.com. They're doing a lot of good things for Ohio. I know that the news cycle moves incredibly fast, but they're still out in East Palestine, Ohio, giving out water filters to the residents there. And we want to do everything that we can to support them. And of course, in the process, you can also support us by using code MPL10. And you can check that out by doing the link in bio. Hopefully, we'll have Nelson on the show soon so that he can discuss a little bit about particularly the water here in Florida. All right. So
big show.
Let me
post really quickly on Instagram. I just want to get the viewers up. Hey guys, come by the live. We're live right now. Come get all the tea and laugh a little bit at the state of the clown world. Do I look crazy right here? No.
Guys, speaking of crazy.
Hold on. All right.
Tell me in the chat, who's kept up with Linda's shenanigans over the last 48 hours?
Let's see what's here. Project Cheney. Yes, also code MPL10.
Code MPL10. Did I say that? Oh, sorry. Thanks, Shani. Yes. Code MPL10 at centuryh2o.com for 10% off.
Don't forget to put a thumbs up for the algorithm. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to share. Here we go, Adam. First super chat. He says, "Hey ladies, I'm here with my donation for Linda's leg surgery. FYI, no one can own her because she's priceless as you both are. Thank you so much."
Thank you, Adam,
for being with me for a very long time and being with us now. That's freaking hilarious. For
those of you that don't know, Linda has an ongoing GoFundMe for her leg surgery because I can't stand you hoes.
I love it. You have no idea the amount of hate that I have received from the simps in the last 24 hours. Like, you guys know that crazy video of all of the liberals, like the all of the liberals that are crazy, like the girl that when Trump won, she's like, no,
they're screaming,
they're screaming like nonstop. That's what they're doing to me on Twitter, and I've been going back and forth, and I've been going at them every single day whenever I catch them. They have literally lost their minds on Twitter because of the video that I shared yesterday.
So let's get everybody up to speed. So for those of you that are unaware, what has sparked the psychosis? The very good psychosis, I would say.
Yeah.
But the president. Whoa, definitely
that's not cool.
Governor Ron DeSantis, take it back, take it out, cut him. Governor Ron DeSantis recently did one of his big, bold, powerful PR moves. There was a center here. What would you call it? An auditorium.
An amphitheater. An
amphitheater here in South Florida actually hosted a drag queen performance, if you will. And of course, children were invited, the usual that we're used to. It caused a big hoopla. And the governor said that he was going to make a really bold move, and that because the Hyatt, this amphitheater, is located within the Hyatt, adjacent to the Hyatt property, because this event had taken place adjacent to the Hyatt property, that he was going to punish them for hosting this drag queen story hour by revoking the hotel's liquor license. So
the first thing is that allegedly, or an apparent, and actually I think this is true. The governors, when they found out that this drag queen tour, and I think it was like the RuPaul's Christmas drag queen tour edition, when the governor found out that this was going to happen, they sent a letter to the hotel or to the management company, I'm not sure, saying, hey, like, if you guys are gonna have like sexually explicit content, videos, or performances, you're gonna get in trouble, type of stuff. And so the show happens. They purposely sent, not that it's a bad thing, it's good, but they purposely sent, I think Chris Nelson was one of them, like a few indie and independent reporters to go film what was going on inside of the amphitheater. And what they found was that there was a lot of like grotesque performances by drag queens, and also that there was minors present. Now, where it gets a little bit complicated is that it's technically a concert. It's not a what do you call it? It's not
like at a library where it's like a public place.
It's not just that, but it's not at a bar or somewhere where you could say that they're taking the kids to a bar, to a strip club, or things like that, right? Nevertheless, they were warned. So the parents, from the videos that I saw, Chris Nelson, because he actually interviewed some of the parents that took their teens and children, obviously liberal, obviously don't find anything wrong with this. And they're like, my kids had a lot of fun. Like, my kids are enjoying themselves. Like, this is kind of, I guess maybe they take them to like drag queen story hour brunch and they're fine with it. So fast forward, and this week, Governor DeSantis' team sends out a press release, and all his little minions on Twitter start tweeting out that the governor's revoking the liquor license of the Hyatt Hotel, and this is the way that they're going to punish them for indecency. Now, you guys know that everyone's obsessed with the groomer stuff. Everybody's obsessed with the culture wars. Everybody wants to play Vladimir Putin, and then they cry about Vladimir Putin. I saw so many people, even Jesse Kelly and a few of the pundits, saying, I don't care if DeSantis uses his power. Like, I'd rather him break the Constitution and figure it out later, like acting so tough, like they were Kim Jong-un. I don't care if he does. I'd rather he's not like Trump. Trump was all talk, obviously, because now everything that DeSantis does is a comparison to Donald Trump. So I thought to myself, well, that's kind of weird, because I was in the liquor industry, as you guys know. I know how expensive and how valuable liquor licenses are. And I also know that venue very well myself. And I know for a fact that the James L. Knight Center, which is adjacent, or it's not necessarily part of the hotel, but it's right next to it. It's kind of like a mall, right? Isn't necessarily the Hyatt. So I said, okay, well, that's the first kind of like red flag to me, because why are they blaming the Hyatt Hotel? Turns out that I think they share a liquor license. Nevertheless, the James L. Knight Center still operated by a third-party company, who I think are the ones that make the deal with the Hyatt Hotel to cater food and to cater alcohol. Most of the time, that venue is obviously shut down because there's no concerts or anything going on. It's only whenever there's a concert. So I called the Hyatt and I said, I don't know why. I just woke up in an annoying mood, and I said, today is it's my time to be a Karen. So I called and I don't know why. I'm like, I can't wait till Bella wakes up so I can tell her this. So I call the hotel and I'm like, hi, my name is Linda. I have a reservation there on Friday, and I'm very worried because I heard in the news that you guys are not going to have alcohol, and I want to know if I can drink in the pool. Am I going to have problems with my husband going to dinner? And they tell me, no, everything's fine. Like, everything's working. Everything is working fine. We still have our liquor license. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. So I'm like, well, that's weird because I just read on Twitter that this license has been permanently removed, permanently revoked. Revoked, as you guys know, it also means repeal, also means ending, also means it's done. It's like if somebody takes your driver's license and you can't drive anymore, right? So I'm like, okay, let me call again. So I call again and I have them transfer me to another department so that I can verify if for sure what they said was true or not. They verify with me again. No, the license is still not revoked. You are going to be fine this weekend, ma'am. Don't worry. We'll wait for you here. I was like, what the hell? I tweeted out and people are telling me you should go and see it, like go by it. Cause I'm like, the place is like 10 minutes away from my apartment. I might as well go. So that's where it all started. I head to the hotel after traffic. I get there, I film the whole thing. And obviously to my surprise, not really, they're still serving alcohol. Because what happened was they did not get their license revoked. What they got was a formal complaint. A formal complaint, actually an administrative complaint, telling them that they were potentially at risk of losing their liquor license based on XYZ, and then they list the statutes or whatever thing that they broke. Then they have 21 days for a hearing and to say, I guess whatever it is, fight that complaint, okay? When I post this and Twitter goes crazy and it goes viral and all the Sims are coming at me, you have all the mental gymnastics that I've been showing on my Instagram story today. You have people saying, all of a sudden they became legal experts, right? It's kind of like how the liberals became train experts and they knew exactly why that train got derailed and why it was Trump's fault. It's the same thing that happened, okay? So now these people are saying that, oh, well, you're wrong. You're spreading fake news because the reality is that, you know, she doesn't know what she's talking about. They have 21 days to appeal. It's actually not like this. That's not what they said. They never said revoked. They said it was going to be, like they start just like fucking doing all these mental gymnastics. And I'm like, no, that's not what they said. Like, here is a screenshot of the governor's press secretary, of all the people that surround him. This is actually Brandon Leslie. Let's look at the screenshot for a second, because this is what pisses me off. It pisses me off how you try to gaslight me. So here's Brandon Leslie. I've had beef with this guy really for no reason at all, other than he's a liar and he's a propagandist, and he's part of the DeSantis communication team extended arm. So, oh yes, Zardin Joseph, yes, I will cancel you and I will turn Antifa. I will turn into Antifa. I see you in the comments. I will turn into Antifa and also expose you. So unless you want to go through what our enemies went through last year and you want to fucking cry, get the fuck off my chat, get the fuck off my Twitter, or I'm gonna fucking turn into Antifa. Yes, I will. Anyways,
I'm gonna leave him crying in the chat for a little longer so everybody can get to him.
I wish I could send you guys a picture of what this guy looks like. Anyways, Brandon Leslie, it's literally in the first sentence. Attention, those who can get a drink tonight at the Hyatt. What does that mean? What does that mean? I think it's pretty self-explanatory what it means. Here's the owner of the Florida's Voice News telling you, the reader, that you won't be able to get a drink at a hotel because the governor allegedly revoked their license. Am I on drugs? Am I tripping out? Like, how do you interpret this thing?
No, I mean, there's no interpretation. It's really there. We got one more tweet. Angel, can you show us the other tweet? All right. So this tweet is coming straight from the press secretary.
So this is the press secretary.
It's a retweet claiming that the license had been revoked, and it's coming right from the press secretary. And I just, for the sake of being accurate, the definition of revoke is to annul by recalling or taking back or rescinding, to bring or call back. Now, I see that Zardin or whoever he is absolutely having a meltdown in the comments.
Yeah, he's
so let's clarify some things, right? Why are we upset? Well, individuals like Carlin would love to just paint us like, oh, well, you guys are just acting like liberals and, it's really nothing and you're defending pedophiles or whatnot. We didn't become advocates for Drag Queen Story Hour over time. However, what we have seen, particularly over the last couple of months since it became blatantly obvious and we became aware to it, is that the DeSantis team has made an art out of turning mediocrity into excellence.
Oh, this is the guy whose wife I DM'd today. Okay, sorry, continue. I'm going to tell you guys how I DM'd his wife. And I sent screenshots of what he said to me. Continue, please. I'm going to show you guys.
So when you see that Linda's out like a lunatic over at the bar, making sure that people understand that it hasn't been revoked is because this is part of the pattern that we have seen time and time again. DeSantis does something that's okay, doesn't necessarily have any results, and then it's pumped out by his PR team into the greatest thing to happen to freedom since the Constitution. Time and time again, people are falling for this. And what is happening is that people are getting distracted. I don't even want to call it a culture war because it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this Fox culture war where they've realized that the conversation around drag queens and groomers are they're hot topics right now. So if you want to get DeSantis's name in the news, a great way to do it is to say, I'm going to take the Hyatt's license, so that then people can go out and be like, oh, he's being an totalitarian. He's such a fascist. In reality, though, he didn't exactly revoke the license from Hyatt.
He didn't.
Just like he didn't exactly revoke the special privileges from Disney. Just like he didn't actually make and do any favors for vaccine passports or for people that didn't want to get vaccinated for work. Just like he didn't actually do all those things, but somehow the media machine behind him has allowed these stories to be blown up, because even the opposition from the liberal media has helped blow this up out of proportion. And I think that what you're going to notice that comes through in our content time and time again is that we're sick and tired, just like Ron DeSantis says, I'm sick and tired of you pissing on my back and telling me that it's raining. What you are doing is not liberating Florida. A great thing would be is if your vaccine passport mandate actually applied to all vaccines, past and future, where an employer cannot discriminate against you, not just COVID. A great base move would have been if you actually kept Florida free, not signed an executive order that kept us in emergency month after month after month after month, well into 2021 when the rest of America was already opening up. That would have been base, but that's not what you did. Mm-hmm. Base would have been actually revoking the special privileges from Disney's special district. He did not do that. He unsat the board and sat in people that he had and took away, I think, maybe like one tax credit that they had, but they're still paying for the majority of the tax credits within. So time and time again, we've allowed the media to paint Ron DeSantis as this absolutely based individual that's doing all the great things. And because all the other 49 states suck, you guys want to take the most okay state and be like, well, I'd still rather live in Florida than live in Portland. Yeah, I don't care. I'm not going to celebrate the mediocrity that is Florida as the absolute beacon of freedom. Why? Because that means that the standard that we're setting for the rest of the country is really exceptionally low. So back to the situation, Linda sitting at the bar. The response that has come from Twitter has really been one of the most alarming ones. Twitter's a toxic place.
No.
So
It's actually like this guy Zarden. The reason why Zarden is on my chat and he's pissed off, even though he never followed me before, was because he found my post. He got mad at me because he fucking deep throws DeSantis's cock. And so he came to my DM to tell me the following. Ready? You're a lying, fraudulent disgrace. Hi, lying Trump Muppet. Who won't allow comments? Read the article and apologize. And I'll do it for you since you probably can't read. Okay? Someone that I don't know, someone that I've never talked to in my life, somebody that doesn't follow me, someone that's 20 to 30 years fucking older than me, who's fucking married and has children, comes to my DM to say that, but he doesn't stop there. right? He doesn't want to look at the facts. He doesn't want to look at anything that I have to say. He goes on to say, lie more, you orange cum addict. Everything
Wow,
I
classy,
send,
Zarin.
and I'm going to post you on Twitter, and I'm going to fucking expose you on Twitter so everyone can drag you. Make sure that everybody that fucking knows you is going to fucking drag you for being a disgusting piece of shit. Then he goes on to continue to call me a cum drinker.
Wait.
Yes.
We can't say those things.
Well, your wife is going to get dragged too. So get in order, Papa, because you're messing with the two wrong people. Antifa tried us last year and they ended up fucking crying. You know why they ended up crying? Because I got him in fucking jail. They're crying, writing articles about us. They're crying right now. Oh, they called the FBI. Oh, fascists. Don't try the wrong people. Don't try the crazy people. Don't try us. Get the fuck off my chat.
Goodbye, Zardin. Goodbye.
Fucking idiot.
Let's click Zardin out before Linda gets us removed from
I'm gonna fucking dox him too on Twitter. No, I am. Watch. After this, you're gonna go on Twitter. You're going on Twitter.
What okay, focus. Back to the topic at hand. So what's happened over at Twitter is that just like you're seeing with Zardin, is that the DeSimp cult, because they love to call us cult members, but the DeSimp cult becomes very alarmed when you call out DeSantis's mediocrity. He's the world's okayest governor. But if you say that on Twitter, you will get attacked, similar to what just happened right now live on the chat.
Yes. What's happening is that it's dragging. The craziest thing is this woman named Rocky, who got a picture of me and Christian Walker looking hot last summer, made a whole post about it. These are the conservatives that are coming after DeSantis. Sweetheart, both me and Christian Walker are in a picture together with the governor backstage at one of his events. So I don't think the governor actually cares about a gay man or myself. First of all. The second thing is that he doesn't care. Have you seen his press secretary? She hangs out with gay people all the time. So they have found all these things. They're even bringing up the old picture of me with Laura Loomer, where the media
said that you were Laura Loomer,
that I was Laura Loomer, and they're fucking crying about it. So again, the same way that this man is disgusting and calls me a cum drinker and does all that, it's the same way that they're treating me on Twitter. All the conservatives are treating me on Twitter because I expose the lie of the DeSantis communication team. And here's the thing, I didn't even do it because of because I don't like DeSantis. I never said I don't like him. I do it because I hate his fucking little team. I hate the Soviet style communications team that runs all these accounts, that has inflated his popularity, that literally tries to intimidate people like me and her. They were trying to intimidate me last night by calling me a groomer through other accounts. So that's why I do it. You're not going to intimidate me. You're not going to, oh, you're a groomer. You're pro-groomer. You're pro-pedophiles. That's why you're doing this. Those were literally the lies that were coming out of people yesterday and still today. Simply because I went and I debunked the lie that you cannot get a drink at the Hyatt Hotel.
And there you have it. You could get a drink at the Hyatt Hotel, which says keep paying attention more closely to what Ron DeSantis does. Because what we're seeing time and time again is that this culture war on, like, drag queens has become such a buzzword that it's so easy for him to get in the press by just doing something that seems semi-based against the drag queens. Meanwhile, your kids can still turn on YouTube, your kids can still turn on Netflix, and they're being bombarded all day long with this normalization of gender ideology and gender confusion. This is already normalized. So what are we actually doing to move the culture forward? It's like, sometimes it does feel like the governor takes these very non-important important, really nothing to necessarily celebrate event. And because he's got this amazing PR team behind him, very skillful PR team behind him, it ends up getting blown up into the biggest deal. So we're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to call out the DeSantis hypocrisy as long as Ron DeSantis doesn't say that he's not running in 2024, or he says that he is, and then it continues to be justified because he's a political adversary. And in that case, it is okay for people to criticize him. So
here's a thing, okay, which is what I said in my story earlier this week, which is that cultural wars are a distraction from real problem. And here's why. We live in a neoliberal country where the majority of the population is in the center. The majority of people are okay with liberal ideas, even if they are unpopular to the far right, if you want to call it. I don't like to label people far right or the more religious, whatever you want to call it. Most people are actually okay with the following: abortion up to a certain point, same-sex marriage. A lot of things like that are in the middle. The only person, or one of the only countries that are fighting the cultural wars are the ones that are banning all that stuff from the media. Russia, the Middle East, I think China as well. Those are the countries. And again, I don't want to say that I'm praising them. This is not a praise. I'm just stating the laws, the policies that they have in place that prevents people from watching the media, from watching a homosexual couple, from watching a pro-abortion commercial. Russia doesn't allow it. Russia doesn't allow same-sex couples or transgenders or anybody. They don't even allow pride parades. So why does it matter if Governor DeSantis, as an example, I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of the policies we're super on board. Some of them we think we're weak. It's just like every other politician, you're going to agree and you're going to disagree. But you're not fighting the cultural war just because you have a Twitter suck-off contest every single day that you do something that apparently is based. That is not the cultural war. The cultural war is when you literally start banning and start forcing the population into certain beliefs or start making it more wholesome. That is a cultural war. And right now, the only person that's really doing that is Vladimir Putin. They started in 2013 with a ban on LGBT propaganda on children. They did not stop there. Last year, they said, never mind, it's not just going to be on children, it's going to be on everything. So now Nike or any brand or any Russian brand, because actually these brands I don't even think are allowed to sell there anymore. No brands are allowed to have same-sex couples or transgenders. You're not allowed to have books with butt plugs for kids or none of that stuff. That does not exist in Russia. That is actually fighting the cultural war. Not trying to go after Disney.
I'll take it even a step further and say that truly dealing with the culture war isn't a matter of like calling out these like one instance, like, oh, let's say that they do get the license revoked at the Hyatt, which I don't think it's going to happen. But let's say for an opportunity that they did, that's not legislation. That doesn't apply now across the state to offer protections to, you know, children being put in these situations by their parents. It doesn't change the punishment. It doesn't change accountability. It doesn't really do anything. So when we're actually talking about driving culture forward, all right, of course, there is a way where you can set these laws, but there's nothing going on in legislation. We just had an entire episode about it last week where they're actually passing legislation that goes against conservative activism that are currently doing activism in hopes of moving and shifting the culture towards a more wholesome Christian faith-based type of like culture. And we don't get any support for that.
We get no support.
We've talked about it, how the governor is very well aware that activists here in South Florida, which did nationally recognized things. Like Linda and I talk about it all the time. We've got large followings. So it's like, but this really took an entire effort from an entire community. And this entire community got targeted by a powerful PR firm hiding behind an Antifa page. The governor was aware of it. The operatives in this PR firm have attacked individuals within Congress, within the House, commissioners. They are known operatives. And the governor did nothing to help the harassment against these mothers, parents, activists, influencers, bloggers, journalists. Nothing was done. So it's really hard for me to celebrate how based the governor is when he's going to call, oh, I'm going to get the Hyatt license revoked. Well, who the hell gives a shit? Like, where's the punishment? Where's the punishment for situations that, for 1,001 things?
And that we know for a fact personally, I personally have text messages that one day, if I have to expose them, if I have to post them online, if I have to share them here or on Twitter or on Instagram, I will. And those text messages include a conversation between me and somebody very close to the governor that's part of his 2024 team, or team right now, of me telling them the situation in Miami, showing them what's going on, and then completely ignoring the situation. In the meantime, they turn around and say, DeSantis is fighting the woke. DeSantis is fighting this. This is exactly why we're calling this out. Because we started to realize that a lot of the things that we believe were true, that we were cheering on ourselves, happened to be a hoax, happened to be exaggerated, and happened to be PR stunts, like Disney, like the Hyatt situation. Here's sorry, what?
No, go ahead, finish.
So here's the thing too. We're in the middle of whether you want to say, oh, it doesn't matter, it's for the safety of children. First of all, I just explained to you how the situation at the Hyatt was actually with the James L. Knight Center, right? So if you've ever been to the Fontainebleau, you have the Fontainebleau Hotel, you know how those outlets work. You have the pool area, you have this, you have that, and then you have Live, which is managed by David
let's
Grutman.
talk about the obvious. Nobody knows what you're talking, unless you're from Miami, nobody knows what we're talking about when we say the James L. Knight Center. There's a reason why DeSantis didn't say, I'm going after the James L. Knight Center. No, nobody knows what the hell that is.
Nobody knows what
But
that
if
is.
you say, I'm going after the big conglomerate, I'm going to go after the Hyatt, and I'm going to revoke their list. Now everybody's paying attention.
Right.
It's all PR, bro. And it's so frustrating once you see it. Number one, because you feel mad stupid that you didn't see it sooner.
Right.
It's like Linda used to love to say, ain't nobody gonna play me. I don't get played. And then like we had to start checking ourselves and be like, shit, we got played. Because it's all just PR, and it's impeccable PR. But nonetheless, once you see it, you can't unsee it. There's a reason why it was revoking the Hyatt's license and not the James L. Knight Center.
It should have been, we're going after the James L. Knight Center because they did not abide by the original message we sent. But of course not, because no one in the country is going to know what the James L. Knight Center is. So what's better than having a name? Oh my God, DeSantis, look, he's so base. He went after the Hyatt. He actually doesn't care. He's actually not a globalist. He's actually not this. Yeah. I went and I was talking to the servers, and the servers were like, he's like, it's crazy. Like, that was a really quiet night here. He's like, we didn't even see anything that was going on. Like, he's like, the way that I found out, my server last night, he said, the way that I found out was through my son. I guess his son's on social media. And he said, Dad, isn't this your workplace? Isn't this your workplace? So now you're also messing with people's livelihoods who have no involvement in the situation whatsoever, whose main source of income, I'm sure, is working at the hotel, and they make a lot of money off the alcohol. And now they're in this situation where their name has been dragged into the media over this PR stunt created by, it's not even the governor, who knows whose problem, that this is what we have a problem with, his communications team.
Yep.
The communications team, as we've said it many, many times, they're very arrogant. They're Yale or something educated. They're the typical country club conservatives who think they're above everybody else. They're basically the equivalent of a snobby liberal who thinks they're more educated than you because they got the vaccine, because they masked up, because they did this, because they did that. And that is who the simps, right? That's the category that they fall in.
My favorite one that they love telling us every time you call out DeSantis, which this nerd just called out in the chat, is, well, then why don't you just leave Florida? If you hate it that much, why don't you just leave Florida?
This is a new one. This is a new one, yeah.
Number one, born and raised in the county of Dade, 305 till I die, for a fact. And it is precisely because I will never give up my 305 number, because this is my home. This is where my family is. This is where I have my family at. This is where I work. This is where I've grown up at. Precisely because of that reason is that I'm not going to celebrate mediocrity. Linda and I made a commitment to one another in early 2021 when the world went to shit and the cabbage was inaugurated on January 20th, 2021. We made a commitment to each other, and we said, we're going to save Florida. We might not be able to save the country, but we're going to start start with Florida. We're going to start with Miami and we're going to start with Florida. And if we need to secede after that, then it is what it is. We'll offer up our military to the rest of the United States if we have to. But our goal was in saving Florida. So we're not going to leave. We're not going to clap like seals at mediocrity.
Literally.
We're not going to celebrate the world's okayest governor and think that, well, it could be worse. At least we don't have people pooping in the street or whatever the hell it is that you guys. We actually do have that. And we may not have all of the stuff that you guys see in your blue states, but the reason why we don't have that is because of people like Linda and I that refuse to give them one more inch. The more that we give them, the more they will take. So we are going to start taking that back. And we're going to do that by calling out the bullshit, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant, whether it's sitting in a bar, whether it's calling him out on Disney, whether it's calling him out on the vaccines. We're going to continue to do that. It's not because we're cult 45, despite the fact that we very much unapologetically are.
Right.
It's because we are going to save Florida. Right. And we're not going to do that by celebrating the bare minimum that comes out of DeSantis each and every single time.
So to kind of like piggyback of the comment that you just made, because that's a comment that I've been receiving. I've literally blocked like 100 people because of this. Well, oh, if it's so bad, then why don't you just leave Florida? First of all, you fucking morons have been crying about Joe Biden for the last 3 years. Please, how many times have I cried over Joe Biden in my story? You can probably count the amount of times I posted about Joe Biden. These fucking losers have been, everything Joe Biden does, they talk about and they cry about. Why don't you leave the United States of America? Why don't you leave America? If you're so pissed off, if you're so mad that you get to live under Joe Biden, why don't you leave like the liberals that left to Mexico and the people that are living in Medellin? You also have the option to not live in America since you're so eager to criticize it every single day. That's the first thing that I want to say. The second thing that I want to say about that statement is that conservatives that are pissed off, that are like, we're not winning, we want to win, that they've been pissed off, that they don't have the culture, they don't have this, they don't have school boards, they don't have anything. Those same people are the ones that have been complacent. They are the complacent ones. They don't want to have a government by the people. They tattoo themselves with we the people and the Constitution and all this fucking bullshit. And we the people. Guess what? When you elect these people into office, you hold them accountable. You have to hold them accountable. That's your job. Even if you like them. And this is more for the state and the local level. You basically, without federal lawsuits, you're not going to hold Joe Biden or Trump accountable because you don't have the money to be able to sue Trump for whatever it is. That's why usually organizations have to fundraise and do it. But you know what you do have the power is holding your state reps accountable, holding your mayor accountable. Just because I call out Francis Suarez for his BS every once in a while doesn't mean that I don't want to live in Miami. That mentality is the equivalent of the liberal mentality. Don't talk about my governor. Don't talk about Florida because then you need to leave because you could have it worse. Guess what we just read right now before coming here? Floridians have the highest health, car, and life insurance in the entire country. So while they're distracting us with these culture wars about Disney, about the trannies over at this place, about the Palace Bar, about that one, they're screwing us over with all this bad legislation, and it's going to get way worse because they're about to pass a bill that is going to further protect insurance companies so that you and I can barely sue them. But we're the problem. We have to move out of Florida. Guess what? If I move to Texas, I could probably get a badass 5-bedroom house for $300,000. I can't get that here. You can't even get an apartment in Miami for $300,000. Where? You can't even get it in Hialeah. You can't get it anywhere.
You can't. Guys, let's take a quick moment. Woo! Spicy. Let's take a quick moment to go over some of the contributions. Per usual, we are 100% self-funded, guys. No Illuminati, no lizard people. So your contributions help us pay for the production, for editing, for all of the stuff, our parking, all of the stuff that we need that comes out of pocket in order to put the podcast together. So we appreciate it. Thank you to Stacy with a $50 donation, just doing my part for Linda's leg surgery. Y la botella. Don't.
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna
Linda's
put it in my
special.
calendar.
The problem.
I'm gonna do it right now as we speak.
Where's la botella? Oh, because she sent us
a
la botella.
bottle.
Wow,
Yeah.
Linda, you're right. You're right. Okay.
So
All right. Who else do we have here? Jenny. She says, I love you guys. Thank you for all your work that you do. Trump 2024. Thank you, Jenny, so much for your contribution. Hablando como los locos with 2 contributions. Hi, ladies. Good to see you. And also letting us know.
yes.
Where did I go? That's definitely not mostly peaceful. Definitely mostly peaceful tonight.
No, I feel like I'm gonna get violent. Like,
and
I
then
swear.
Also calling out salty refried bean. I love that name. Based as fuck, Linda. I love it. Donation from Eric to Boo.
I love Eric.
Still gay.
I've had
Wait,
a lot of people don't know about this. Please continue. But
All
him
right.
and I have
Is this like an inside joke before you and Eric? All right. So hashtag still gay. And then we want to thank Brian Smith with a $20 donation. He says, keep speaking true, fam. Sounds good on my end. Guys, your contributions are appreciated. Thank you for helping us grow. Please don't forget to like this video. If you are on live right now, please, please, please stop what you're doing. Like this video. Help us get on the algorithm.
The reason why Eric sent me the super chat with the still gay is because of the ugly Malaysian that I've been bullying on Twitter. Ian Miles Chung. First of all, when Trump comes in power, the first thing that I'm going to do, because I am going to play the role of a fascist, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to investigate you. I'm going to tell the feds to investigate you for election interference, because you don't live here. You live in Malaysia. Yet you're driving American political narrative and you're being retweeted by all of these people, by the Daily Wire. So I think that's actually interference. So what we're going to do is we're going to weaponize our agencies against the ugly Malaysian that I had it out with, because he decided to tweet my video and try to correct me, because he's another one that's deep throating DeSantis every single day. Every single day, he's just deep throating. It's fucking disgusting. I swear to God, I've been holding on for so long to get into a fight with that guy. I have been holding for months until it happened, until I bullied him on the internet yesterday.
He blocked you. He finally blocked you.
Until he finally blocked me.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank
I think
you.
it was well earned.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it was well earned.
Thank you.
All right. Are we moving on to some other stories?
God, I just hate him so much. I hate him, bro.
All right, guys. So
Thomas Kennedy, I just want to give a shout out to Thomas Kennedy. Shockingly, and this is gonna sound shocking to most of you, but Thomas Kennedy is actually a lot better in my book now than these the Sims that have attacked me for the past 24 hours. That's where I'm at. That's a strong stretch. That's a stretch.
That's a strong stance to take.
That's a stretch.
But you know what? It's you got to respect other people's activism. Do you guys Linda and I have this conversation often. Do you not feel like there's a certain level of respect? Like there's a hierarchy to your enemies. Like there's some enemies that you can respect and some enemies that you just don't have any kind of respect for. Like Thomas, I think falls into one of those things where, while I don't agree with his ideology at all, I hate his ideology.
Right.
I dedicated my life to going against it. I can appreciate that he's like a genuine activist for his cause.
Right.
It's not, he genuinely feels like he's changing the world and what it is that he does. And in the hierarchy of enemies, I respect that a lot more than somebody that's just in it for like a Corbyn, like, you know, attacking people for the money.
Right.
What he's getting paid. So let's talk about other trending stories. If you all remember, back in 2009, a man by the name of Jeffrey Epstein was arrested under claims that he had sex trafficked several underage women. And his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, was also arrested, and she's in jail. And we got those arrests and then the courts, and it was all fantastic. But basically, these people have proven that they were trafficking these young girls to no one, because no one's been arrested. No logs have been released. No information about these investigations. But news broke this week that Jimmy Kimmel, who actually spends a significant amount of time making fun of QAnoners, of conservatives, of anyone who perpetuates the notion or the idea that Jeffrey Epstein was in fact a very bad guy that hurt kids and had very close relationships to very powerful people in Hollywood, in politics, so on and so forth, etc., who for the last couple of years has tried to ridicule the situation as really not that big a deal, has actually been discovered that Jimmy Kimmel's very close friend, Adam Perry Lang, was Jeffrey Epstein's personal chef. And he's been Jimmy Kimmel's friend for a significant amount of time.
So he was on the plane?
So he's been on the plane, and I want to tell you guys exactly what the numbers on that are. The pilot mentioned that Lang had on occasion stayed at Epstein's Manhattan townhouse on East 71st Street and sometimes rode with the pilot and his crew to or from the airport. Rogers explicitly stated that Lang traveled on 6 flights between 2000 and 2001, which are the dates that the alleged attacks were all taking place, as an Epstein passenger. And he did, in fact, travel to the island. So he's on the flight logs showing him into Little St. James Island. So I think that the conversation is we keep on getting these like little snippets of true connections, right, between Jeffrey Epstein and politicians. We even found connections dating back to our mayor.
Mm-hmm.
One of the people that endorsed our mayor moving from New York, because we know she's not a Miami native, she was in New York, moving from New York down here and running for mayor, Daniela Levin Cava, the mayor of Miami-Dade County. One of the people who endorsed her campaign actually had relations with Jeffrey Epstein, a former mayor of Miami Beach.
Yeah.
So we've got connections that are local. We've got connections within Hollywood. And I think it's, until this day, anybody who talks about the topic of sex trafficking is immediately labeled QAnon, not credible, conspiracy theorist, so on and so forth. And then you've got someone like Jimmy Kimmel, who's, you know, the late night, very well-known late night personality, has spent the last, 3-4 years downplaying the issue with Jeffrey Epstein. And now we find out that a very close friend of him spent, a significant amount of time, very personal time, with Jeffrey Epstein.
Not surprised, not shocked. They're all pedos. No. And here's the thing. These are the same people that have this snob attitude. I mean, we've seen how they are. They wanted to treat people that didn't want to get the pharma juice. They wanted to treat them differently.
Mm-hmm.
They made fun of us. They made fun of people that didn't want the lockdowns. They made fun of parents who would go to school board meetings. Any Trump supporter, of course. So these people are notorious for dehumanizing their political opposition. Always. Not just dehumanizing, but also creating all these false narratives around Trump supporters, around racism, anti-Semitism, and everything in between. And then we come to find out that they always stick together, that the pedophiles in Hollywood always stick together. And somehow, some way, they're still not held accountable for their crimes.
Well,
and I think that's the most frustrating part.
It is. And then you have to wonder, like, why do they stick together? Is it because they're covering for one another, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because one pedo can identify the other pedo.
Yeah.
So is it one of those things where, in order for my secret to remain safe, I need to keep your secret safe?
Yeah.
So it's all like one big cover up of the whole situation. There's recently it had come out. It was a couple of months ago, not too recently, but I'm going to take you guys back in 2021, I want to say, or 2020. Chrissy Teigen, who you guys know had hated the Q-tards and was always against them, had a miscarriage. I say miscarriage because there was a lot of speculation it had happened through some kind of like dark moon, the satanic ritual type moon. And there was a lot of speculation back then that it had been a sacrifice and that it's something that she had actually done on her own, that she hadn't had a miscarriage. You guys probably remember. If you don't, you can look up pictures of it. She had a photographer. She took pictures, posted it online. And this happened right around the time that she was getting very heavily, I want to say, attacked online because of her association with Jeffrey Epstein. because of her connections to the flight logs, because she had been on the island. So around that time, she loses it. She's like, I'm going to get off of Twitter. She starts telling at the time that they needed to kick. She's actually to some degree behind when they started kicking out QAnon from Twitter, because Chrissy Teigen forms this entire show and they're so crazy. And the super vulnerable moment in my life, I just had a miscarriage and they're accusing me of satanic rituals and all these other things. Boom, fast forward a couple of months ago, Chrissy Teigen actually comes clean and says that she did, in fact, terminate her pregnancy on that day because there was complications with it. So when I think about...
she didn't know it was a miscarriage.
No, ma'am. She terminated the pregnancy. She comes clean about that. So apparently there was some kind of issue that was potentially going to be wrong with the baby. I'm not sure if it was potentially Down syndrome or what it was, but they had told her that there was this high-risk pregnancy. And because of that, she terminates the pregnancy. And then I go back to the narrative where it's like, I get it, bro. Some of the things that come out of like QAnon world are so far-fetched that it becomes even frustrating, because you're like, please, you're making everybody look like tards doing this.
Yeah, especially the JFK stuff.
Dude, especially the JFK stuff, which is just another psyop to make people look nuts, right? But dude, the truth of the matter is that we know that we're in a battle between good and evil. The spiritual stuff is very real. And if you believe in things that are very good, like prayer, the revival that we've been seeing out of the college campuses, if you believe in the power of Christ and that good, then you have to understand that the other side of that exists, and that true pure evil does exist. People that do rituals and dark stuff does exist. We live in Miami, Florida. The idea of blood rituals is really not as far-fetched as people think. When you're in Hialeah and you see dead chickens with their necks cut off next to some mangoes in every other corner. Like, there's people who actually believe in this kind of thing. So
I'm looking here and continue. Sorry,
are you looking into the Chrissy Teigen story?
I'm reading it right now.
Yeah. Go ahead and read it. And
it's weird because I don't think. Yeah, so she alleges that her 2020 miscarriage was actually a life-saving abortion, and that sometime along the pregnancy, they realized that the baby was not going to make it, but unless she had an abortion, she also was not going to make it, which, again, nobody wants to ban abortion in the case of saving you or the baby. Like, these are things that, as I said earlier on when we started this conversation, most people are going to be in the middle with these type of topics. Rape. Some people believe in no abortion exceptions at all because they were rape babies themselves, or they know somebody. They say it doesn't matter. It's a life. Some people are going to say absolutely not. Or incest and things like that. So there is nuances when it comes to this abortion situation.
I agree. In the life-saving sense, I can understand that, but I do think that it just takes it back a little bit, where they really gaslit the hell out of people and told them that they were so crazy and so far-fetched when they told her, you terminated that pregnancy, you didn't have a miscarriage, and it was all these pictures and this drama, and it's like, no, how can you guys say that? I had a miscarriage. So now 2-3 years later to come out that it was in fact a terminated pregnancy for whatever the reason or justification it is that she has. So it's interesting that when it comes to the topic of Jeffrey Epstein, we continue to get gaslit whenever a question is asked. Apparently, the world's most prolific sex trafficker trafficked to absolutely no one, because here we are 4 years later. It's about to be 4 years since the original arrest of Epstein, and we still have no arrest of who they trafficked women to.
Yeah. And I don't think we will, honest to God. Or maybe I'm just black pilled, but I don't think we're going to see, at least in our lifetime, any arrests. If it didn't happen under Trump, it's not going to happen under DeSantis or anybody else. And the world, for some reason, these people are more powerful than ever, right? The Illuminati, the bad people, whatever you want to call them. I just think that they're more powerful than ever. It's the reason why, too, they fight so hard for Ukraine. Ukraine is a really important country to the elitists. There's a lot of human trafficking happening there. There's a lot of surrogacy happening there. There's a lot of money laundering happening there. And I just don't see how the paradigm will shift and we'll see what we wanted to see, what we thought would happen back in like 2018 and 2019. Like, you know,
everybody has a little cutard living inside of them, hoping for military tanks down the street and mass arrest.
Shit.
Everyone's got a little cutard in them, guys.
Yeah.
Hold it close, like your inner
Hold it
child.
close.
Hey, speaking of clown world, let's do our Desgraciado of the week to wrap
Let's
up the
do it.
show.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Desgraciado of 2 days week. Yeah, we got it already? He got it.
Yeah, I can't hear
I'm
anything.
laughing because when we pulled up this picture, we sent it over to Angel to pop it up. He's like, "Is it the one with the lady in the red dress? Put up the lady in the red dress, please. Put up the lady
why
in the
is
red
it
dress.
coming out like
That is not a lady. That is not a lady. Wait, can you see it? Is it?
Yeah,
You can see it there. That is not a lady. That is Dylan Mulvaney, who, as you all know, has been chronicalizing his a day and what is his girlhood journey. So
Yeah.
he's a transgender man who has transitioned into womanhood. I talked about him before, and he has now celebrated his 365th day of being a girl. And the media has eaten this shit up. He's been at the White House. He's been in front of every single celebrity. But honestly, the Desgraciado of the week really isn't even Mulvaney in this picture. It is Miss Drew Barrymore.
Which is disappointed because I've always really liked her, especially after 50 First Dates. Like, that's one of my
That's my favorite
movies.
movie.
Yeah.
I know the favorite movie.
love
That's
one
like
of-
my
like,
favorite, hands down favorite
watch
movie.
50 First Dates every day for the rest of my life.
I'm like shocked that I'm finding that out about you because that's me with 50 First Dates.
Yeah.
I can watch it every
I
single
always make
day of my
people
life.
watch it with me too. I love.
So my
that
husband,
movie.
every time that like I'm having a bad day or pissed off, he's like, "Oh, okay," and like he'll put on the movie because he knows it's like my favorite.
It's such a
one.
great movie.
No,
It's
you
such
know
a
what
great
it is. So Drew Barrymore takes a knee in front of
Takes the
Mulvaney,
knee.
basically to show him support because he feels like I get bullied so much and people are so mean. And Drew Barrymore gets down on her knees and she's like, "It's okay. Sometimes we're so hard on each other." Blah 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 blah. But bro, we are living in a like backwards land of life. We just celebrated International Women's Day, and I saw more men getting recognized during International Women's Day than I did actual women. Here is the internet has gone crazy with this picture because basically what they're depicting is that the patriarchy wins again. Here's Drew Barrymore
Amazing.
at the knee, on her knees in front of the patriarchy. So it's like, where are the feminists, bro? Where are the feminists that are telling her, like, "Ma'am, that is a man in a dress, and you just took a knee in front of a man with a dress"?
Well, a few things. The Daily Wire also, because they're obsessed with Dylan Mulvaney, especially Matt Walsh. I think that Ben Shapiro grabbed Matt Walsh and was like, "Hey, bro, like this is gonna be like your subject for the rest of 2023, and that's all you're gonna do." And so Matt Walsh has been going at Dylan Mulvaney for the last couple of days, but apparently this week Dylan Mulvaney had some like sort of musical. I didn't see the whole thing because
That was his celebration, his 365 days.
365 days. And apparently Dylan actually had people play the Daily Wire characters as villains, including like Brett Cooper, Dave Shapiro, Michael E. Jones, and Matt Walsh, and everybody else. And I didn't watch it, but I'm gonna actually watch it because I think it's hilarious. And but one of the things that I found funny with, well, not funny, but one of the things that I think it's a little crazy with this whole Dylan Mulvaney situation is that this is clearly a character. Not that it makes it any better, not that it makes her tolerable, not that I'm saying we should accept that or not, but I do think, and this is maybe me being a little cute, maybe being me a little
cute inside.
I'm gonna play around with this whole conspiracy thing, but it almost seems to me like there's a greater like orchestrated, I don't know if I'd say power, but there's like an orchestrated effort to put Dylan in the front of everything, because now she's the face of like KitchenAid. So now we're talking about like, see now they're telling her to get in the kitchen, like go back to the kitchen, right? But that's because they said that to a biological woman. We're going to, if they said that to like a liberal woman, "Oh, how dare you tell me to get back in the kitchen? You're a sexist. Like, I don't need to be in the kitchen." But they're okay with saying that to Dylan Mulvaney because it's about the image. It's about actually trying to invert have this inversion, this satanic bullshit that man can, that there's no separation of sexes or genders or whatever you're gonna call it. Everyone is equal. God made a mistake, because that's the thing with transgenderism. And this is the problem when it comes to conservatives, allegedly social conservatives, or any human in general. I wouldn't say just it's a conservative thing. I would say, are you a truth-based, fact-based, God-based person? With transgenderism, we're basically saying that God made a mistake, that God is imperfect. And we're talking about the God that created the moon to give you light at night, the sun to give you light during the day. We're talking about the guy that created the oceans. We're talking about the dude that made all these perfect things.
And human composition.
And here's the thing. Nature is perfect. Right? That's why the bees are able to take pollen to the flowers, and then you bloom. Like, everything is in perfect synchrony when it comes to nature and natural law and order. You don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to be a Muslim or an Orthodox Jew or a religious person to know that everything is synchronized with natural law and order, and understand that just based off of procreation. So the people that say, I don't care, right? I don't care what adults do with their bodies, which technically I don't wake up and I'm like, oh, did somebody cut their penis off today? Like another trans person cut their penis. I don't think about it at all. I'm sure you don't think about it at all. Most of us don't care at all. So it's kind of true that most people don't care what they do with their bodies. However, when you say that, you're basically admitting that God made a mistake in his perfect creation. And that is where I have a problem with people, with adults, with Christians, non-Christians, who say that they don't care, that it's fine, and that some people should, and that it alleviates your mental health. It's just, to me, it's godless.
It is.
And to me, it's like trying God. Like, I'm trying God. Like, I'm playing God now. And I'm going to invert my penis and make it into a vagina. And by the way, that I found out the other day to a trans person, no, that's what they do. It's true. They invert the penis and they make a canal. Like, and this woman on TikTok had me shooketh, because she said that is why she uses tampons, because she's constantly bleeding from the surgery after she got her male parts removed and got it inverted. And she's like, this is why, as a trans woman, I have to use tampons. It's because she has almost like an open wound forever. That to me, or what they do with the women's, how they make a penis, they literally have to cut off a piece of your arm to make it. Like, to me, that should be punishable.
Well, I think
that's where I'm like, I want people in jail. Like, it's not enough. No, seriously, I think these doctors should go to jail, and the parents as well of children.
Yeah, I think that it's the bigger conversation really is the one that you're having, which is that this all goes back to like Baal worship, right? And Baal was represented by a deity that is not man or woman, or a combination of both.
Frankenstein.
And that it is very much an attack on God to normalize the idea that you were born in the wrong body. Like, we can call it what it is, preference due to mental status, or, things that have been consumed. I don't know. Maybe it's in the water. Maybe it's in the vaccines. We don't know. But to say that God made a mistake in creating man and woman that are perfectly created to procreate and multiply the earth,
even the way we
created
procreate
for us, it's an attack on him. And it's hard to feel, like you just said, watching the entire machine be behind Dylan Mulvaney. He's at the White House. He's with the makeup brands. He's with the cooking brands. He's everywhere. You cannot escape Dylan. Like, I think that he's somewhere like at 90 million followers or something, at 9 million. I don't even know. It's a ridiculous number that he's at in followers. And he's being propped up as a savior for trans people, for women, for young girls, for young boys that are confused. They're even trying to prop him up as like the face of like anti-bullying. Then he's talking all sorts of crazy about making things illegal. Oh, it should be illegal for somebody should go to jail for misgendering me. Like, this is a guy with a lot of influence now, taking a step where they are using him for political power and gain at the same time. So it does very much feel like an attack on God, an attack on traditional values, if you will. And it's not even the fact that because they're like, you just don't want us to exist. I know that you say like, we don't want it to exist at all, but it's like, bro, like, why do you guys have to glorify this? Like, your life isn't glamorous. You wake up every single day feeling like you don't belong in the body that you were born in. You need to go through drastic medical procedures so you can feel more like yourself. The majority of the time, you're not happy either. You're not to sell this as the ideal way of life, like, oh, I'm so proud to live this way. Like, it's just not, it's not real. It's delusional. And it's not to say that people don't have the right to exist as they are, but seeing somebody going through all of that and calling that, oh, happiness and fulfillment is bullshit. And it's again where they try and sell it to us as the normalcy now. You turn on Netflix, you cannot turn on Netflix without there being several gay characters, several trans characters. It's the oddity is actually seeing straight characters on these shows.
Right. Which is why I go back to Russia. And by the way, I found this ugly troll also crying about me, a conservative. He was replying back to somebody saying, oh, she loves Trump and she loves Putin and she goes after everybody that she doesn't like and all these things, like this, like typical country club conservative. And I go back to the Russia example because I was talking to my friend Masha on Monday. We were in Delray and she says, everybody thinks that gay people are suffering in Russia and all these things and transgenders, but the reality is that there is a lot of gay people who are part of the Russian entertainment. Like they have like their own little Hollywood or whatever. Mm-hmm. They just cannot glorify their lifestyles. So they're allowed to be actors. They're allowed to do things, but you can't have a same sex like marriage on camera. Right. Or so it's like you're allowed to
You're not persecuted for your existence and being a gay
You're
person.
allowed to exist, but we are not going to glorify your lifestyle, and we are not going, and certainly we're not going to promote it as natural, because they have put it into law that only the nuclear family and Christian values are going to be promoted and are going to be glorified. And I tie this into the beginning of the show, which is that's how you fight cancel culture. But we're not going to do that here because we have a First Amendment. Russia doesn't have a constitution. Russia doesn't have a First Amendment. I don't know if ever we're going to have a party that takes over in a way where they'll say, we're canceling porn, we're canceling this, we're canceling that. Maybe, but I don't see it. I've seen even conservative. I think the lady from Alabama, we had a couple of Republicans who last year, when they were trying to revoke trans children's rights, they wanted to stay away from that topic. They were making constitutional arguments for trans kids being in sports and trans children being to socially transition. In fact, Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia, I wish I would have given him the video, but he had a town hall with CNN last week where they were asking him questions about, there was a kid, it was a female to male teen. Okay. So this little girl is already fully looking like a boy. Okay. So she stopped puberty. She got, I guess, the puberty blockers, the whole thing. So she asked a question to Glenn Youngkin and says, like, how could you think that like, look at me, I'm a boy. Like, I look like a boy. I'm physically a boy. How could you think that women are going to be comfortable with me in their locker rooms? And how can I be comfortable? So basically, she is making the argument that because she has already socially transitioned and with puberty blockers into a boy, and she's a teen boy, she needs to be able to go to her, what is it, transition gender? Yeah, not assigned. So her socially transitioned gender, which in this case will be boys, but in Virginia, Glenn Youngkin wants you to go to the bathroom that it's of your biological sex that you're born with. So instead of taking a stance, being an adult and saying, hey, I sympathize with you and whatever, blah, 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 blah. What I really think is that you should get help, or your parents should get you help, and you need to transition back. Something a little bit more pushy. Glenn Youngkin goes into what a typical country club conservative would say, which was, we just need more bathrooms. We need more gender neutral bathrooms. Again, not pushing back into the ideology at all, but this is the thing with the Republican Party. The Republican Party it's not a party of opposition. It's a party of compromise. Compromise.
Snaps.
We are
Snaps.
not, it's not that he's gonna say, you know what, God made you in the perfect da-da-da, I don't agree with the situation, I think your mom should, you know, help you, blah blah blah, we should get you help and medical professionals. He gives a soft answer and a compromise right attached to it. The compromise is, we don't need just female and male bathrooms, we need gender neutral bathrooms.
That's, well, it seems like the compromise always comes again to last week's episode, which is a sacrifice at Christian ideology, right?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like consistently, well, sometimes it almost feels like conservatives are doing more to push the
I think they are.
normalcy of this like LGBTQ gender ideology than leftists are. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. We know that the left is deranged. We know that, we expect it. But with all due respect to Blair White as a human being,
Oh yeah.
It's always alarming to see her come up on the timeline and then going through the likes and seeing how many men within our movement are, you know, are gassing that on. Oh, you look attractive and you look super hot and like all of these things, which is like, all right, no judgment, it is what it is. But it just seems so contradictory to the culture that we're trying to create, where again, should we be glorifying a character like Blair White? Does she have every right to exist and have her space? Yes, as a person, I don't know Blair White. I'm not critiquing her as an individual, but it is alarming to see Blair White, that we know is not post-op, in a bikini, tucked away, big hand, and then to see like all these like conservative voices cheering this on and gassing it up and like, yeah, you look great. It's like, well, shit, like, when a conservative does that, it does miles to normalize the gender, you know, transition and all this than the left, because we know the left is deranged. But when you see people within your own circles hyping this up, then you start normalizing it. And I've actually seen, I don't have that much of a radical thought, but I've seen Christians within our movement say that they don't want to be involved in events where Lady Maga's at, or where Blair White's at, or where the log cabin is at.
Bryson Gray is a good example of that. Yeah.
Nino America is another one where they will get kicked out. They will be ostracized by these conservative circles because they take a strong stance on their Christian conservative values. And they're like, I don't want to be involved with an organization that's normalizing this. And as Christian conservatives, they have every right to feel that way and have space and room in the party for them. But the party will ostracize these people to pasarle la mano a characters like Blair White.
So the other day, actually, Blair White posted a picture of himself with a gun. I think she had like an AR-15. This was on Twitter. And she's in a bikini and she's showing off his little boy body with titties, and then saying like, oh, if you see a conservative woman, a liberal woman with a bulge is a man. And if you see a conservative woman, it's not, it has a vagina. Like this whole thing, like, first of all, like, you're mentally ill. Let's start with that. Second of all, like, you still have a penis. It's just super small, so it's tucked in and you can't see it. So, you know, and then the other part is that you are literally trying to invert the minds of men, because now you have men that says, I would, maybe if I had to attempt shots of tequila in, maybe I would. Maybe it's like Diplo. Diplo just had an interview. We should have probably played it. Diplo just had an interview yesterday. And he said that he got his penis sucked by a male and that he doesn't consider that gay. And that the reason why that happened was because he was too drunk to know and to notice and to care. And that because he didn't make eye contact, Diplo doesn't believe that he is a homosexual. I've always known that Diplo is a homo, because I saw him kiss a transgender one time on a video. And but again, you do all these drugs and you do all this alcohol, and then you end up getting a blowjob from a man and saying, oh, I didn't make eye contact. I was like this the whole time. So it's not homosexuality.
Yeah,
it is still homosexuality.
To me, it's just
like
that
it's 1000% homosexuality, like 1000%. And so I feel like there's a lot of these closeted conservatives who do crush on Blair White. I feel like there's a lot of also closeted homosexuals who have wives and children and have their gay escapades. Well,
we know for a fact they're out there. We don't just.
Oh yeah, never mind. We know for a fact. We just can't talk about it yet. Yet.
So many secrets, so little time.
Yes.
Guys, we're actually getting to the end of the show. Please, if you're still in the chat, show us some support. Like, subscribe if you like our content. 100% self-funded, only support from you guys and believing in us, which we're so appreciative for. The party doesn't like us. The party wants us to shut up. So we highly depend on you guys to show us some support. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you. And until next week.
Until next week for sure. All right.